$200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES podcast with your host, Soulblazer.
Hello, everybody. This is Super NES Podcast, episode number 166. As always, this is your faithful co-pair of hosts, Greg and Joe.
Hello.
And we are very, very honored and very pleased to have another special guest host with us again this episode. He's been a regular on the podcast several times in the past. It's always a blast to have him back on here. So chances are you probably know him, you're familiar with the podcasting world. So like the Atari 27 Gaming podcast and some other podcasts as well. It's the one and the only. You know him, you love him, Ferg.
Hello there. Hi, Greg. Hi, Joe.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, hanging in there.
Good.
Yep. So like I just said, it's great to have you back on the podcast.
Thank
Ferg.
you. Thank you very much for the kind words.
So I figured like it was a while since you had been on the podcast, so if I wanted to have you back on here. I can't remember the last time that you were on here, like we talked about.
Yeah, it's been a while. Was it Batman Returns? We were talking earlier about that, but
No, that was before the draft. I'm sure you've been on. I'm sure you've been on after the draft. I just don't remember what game. It's not a game that we covered, but anyway, this is me not doing research on this beforehand like I should.
it's all right.
But anyway, yeah, the game that Ferg brought for us this time, when he first said what he wanted to cover, I asked Joe, he's trolling us, right? Because it does not seem like a game that Ferg is going to be exposed to, so. But no, Ferg assures us he's very serious about this, so, okay. What game did you want to bring to the table this time, Ferg?
Sanrio World Smash Ball, Super Famicom exclusive.
Yeah, okay, so the obvious question is going to be, how the heck did you hear about this game?
Which was the question I was going to ask.
Yeah. So, I guess when emulators started in the 90s, I had a Super Nintendo emulator, and my wife had introduced me to Sanrio. There was a store in her hometown that had them, and it was just like the kind of the girly stuff, I guess. I don't know if it's all girly or not. Not necessarily, but... Go ahead.
Yeah, it is, but we'll get into that like a little bit here. But anyway, go ahead, please.
All right, I'll hand in my man card at the end of the show. So before we moved to Delaware, she got a job in a craft store, and they had a bigger section of Sanrio stuff, and there was a frog called Karopi that I really liked, and I had a Karopi wallet for about 15 years. But during that time, somebody gave me a... CD full of Super Nintendo ROMs and Super Famicom ROMs, and I saw Sanrio in one of the titles, so I clicked on it, and it was this game. And I didn't know how to play it because it was in Japanese. Didn't really know what I was doing. There wasn't anything online that told you how to play those games at the time, and I just fell in love with the game. It's basically Pong. It's basically an old Atari 2600 game with Sanrio characters. And I really loved the game, and I was playing it again in the past few days, and I really had a lot of fun with it because I hadn't played it in so long.
Yeah, the game is very easy to pick up and play, without really having to know too much about it. There is a fully translated ROM of this game available now.
Yes, I had. That's the one I found on the emulation station I have. Yep.
But if you don't have it, this game is still very playable.
It is. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So. Joe, did you play the translated version? Or...
Nope, I played the Japanese version.
The Japanese version, okay. All right,
and let me tell you, so I knew nothing going. I didn't even know what Sanrio was. I was just thinking that, this is, just the name of the game. So I, loaded up in my emulator, and it starts up, and the little frog shows up, and I went, "Oh, this is Hello Kitty." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So then I immediately knew what you were talking about when you were like, "Is Ferg trolling us?" Like the minute I saw it, I was just like, "Oh my god!" And let me tell you, just a small spoiler, I loved this. Thank you so much, Ferg, for
Oh,
bringing this to
great,
us.
great.
Yeah,
I was really surprised.
Yeah, I was too, to be honest, because I knew about Sanrio, Sanrio at least. So I knew they had a whole line of mascot licensed games, but beyond that, I never heard of this game because obviously it was Japan only. So I'm like, and then I started playing it. I'm like, this is just basically Pong. That was like a few additions made onto it, but yeah, it's a very simple, easy to play game. And technically, this is a sports game, which is another reason that I wasn't sure that Ferg was being serious about this, because he doesn't really like sports games that much.
No.
But with some exceptions, there are some sports games you've mentioned before in the past that you enjoyed playing.
Yeah,
Ferg,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I shouldn't, but anyway, yeah. So. Yeah, technically this is sports. Sports. I'd see this more of an action game personally, but So this game apparently is quite well known. As a matter of fact, it's a Giant Bomb did a whole article on it a while back. There's a bunch of videos on this on YouTube. It's actually a fairly well known game at this point.
Yeah.
So, it's still kind of considered to be a cult favorite, but. The game got more attention now than I expected that it to had received. So yeah. So anyway, we'll get talking about the game here in just a moment. Just to give a little bit of background as we usually do on this podcast, for those of you who may not know too much about the company or the games or whatever behind it. Sanrio, as we already mentioned, is a Japanese company that dates back to 1960. They are best known for the Hello Kitty brand, but they also do a whole bunch of other brands as well too. So they're considered to be a kawaii company, which is Japanese for cute.
Right.
So all their stuff. That's why I said it. That's why I jokingly said before. All their stuff's considered to be very cutesy. So all their products, products and product lines and whatnot. The company's actually a lot bigger and more diversified than I realized. Beyond the Hello Kitty line, they also have a bunch of other original products and product lines in Japan. They had the rights to produce Mr. Men and Little Miss characters in Japan, which is which was originally a British cartoon. They also have the rights to produce Peanuts merchandise in Japan as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So they have a video game division, of course, obviously, which is making the one that made all these games. They also make stationery, school supplies, gifts, and accessories. And they also have an animatronics branch as well.
Oh no!
They even operate a KFC in Japan as well.
What?
So yeah. So very diversified company, much to my surprise. But they also have a U.S. branch. I'm not sure if you guys worry about that. Sanrio Incorporated is based in is based in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they also they have a huge store in Times Square apparently, which is called Sanrio Lux. And they also have a bunch of other stores located around the country. So. But yeah, so Sanrio started making games for their products in 1990 when they came out with their first game, Sanrio Carnival, like the NES and Game Boy, which is a puzzle game. So, and after that, they have made a bunch of games, pretty much mostly in house. At least publishing the games in house. The games have been developed by different companies, but they've always been produced by a company owned by Sanrio over the years. A lot of games over the years for different systems, like NES, Game Boy, Super NES. They also supported the Sega Pico for a while. Surprise. Which nobody has heard about. I don't think, but and yeah, their most recent game came out in 2019 for the Switch. So they are started making Sanrio games. So the company which published this game was called Character Soft, which was which was an in-house publishing company for Sanrio from 1994. So they're only like all the games they published were for Japan only. The company which developed this game, Sanrio World Smash Ball, was called Tomcat System. They were active. Not a lot of information available in this company online, but when I can tell, they were active from 1991 until 2013. So they also made games for a number of systems. Most of their games stayed Japan. However, they did develop the Super NES ports of Sim Earth and Sim Ant. Which I'm not sure if you guys have played those games, but and those games did get published in North America. So those two games, as well as also a mobile game from 2010, which is a Candy Crush ripoff. With the three games of theirs that have been published. They've been released in North America. So, but yeah, they have done a lot of Sanrio stuff over the years too, as well as stuff like racing games. Oh, they also did. This is actually a fun game, Joe. So we may have to cover this game at some point. The Monopoly Game 2, which is kind of like a very strange but very fun kind of Monopoly spin-off.
Okay.
They developed in 1995, which was unfortunately Japan only. Berg, you should check this out. I think you'd like this.
Okay.
So anyway, most of their stuff has stayed in Japan, so I would not fault anybody for not having heard of the company. So anyway, now we've covered the background of this game. Oh yeah, this game actually came out in 1993, so it was kind of an early Super NES game. So now to cover the game pretty much, I will just say briefly here of the setup. There's a game select when you start the game. You can also do a continue mode. There's a password system that the game uses, like the games. There's also a versus mode, a two-player mode. I was too busy this week this week, Joe. Otherwise, I would suggest to play in this versus because the game looks very fun. Looks like it's gonna be very fun in versus mode. So
I agree.
Like one or two player mode with this. So you get to pick your character. Like to play the game. So you either can be you mentioned this character earlier.
Karopi?
Frog. Yeah, Karopi. You also could play as Tabu, Hangudon, and Pokepon, who I really don't know anything about. So each character has 30 stages in the game. Your objective basically is just your objective basically is you have kind of like a fancy goal, soccer-like kind of screen, which you have your goal behind some blocks. You have their goal behind some blocks. Kind of reminds me of a Warlords a bit too in some ways.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And you're trying to basically just get your goal. They're trying to like clear the way and get your ball into the goal before your opponent does the same to you. It's the best of the best of 3 matches. So if you win 2 out of 3, you advance to the next stage. So and there's power-ups things that they and different moves that you can also get. So now I've got the as I've covered all the setup. Ferg, you have the most experience with this game. Why don't you take over to talk about some of the gameplay here for us?
Okay. So basically, you're just playing Pong. Like I said, it's vertical instead of horizontal. And you have, like Greg said, the different power-ups that are hidden in the blocks that cover your goal. Sometimes there's a question mark blocks that are scattered around where you can get those. I forget now. I think one of them gives you some speed. One of them gives you automatic power, which I'll talk about in a minute. One of them takes I think they're called dominoes. The game calls them dominoes.
Yes.
It takes all your opponent's dominoes away, which scared the crap out of me the first time it happened to me. And was there one other one? I can't remember now.
Yes, the last one. I got the last one increases the ball speed.
Oh, the ball speed. Okay.
Yeah.
So you also have a power meter, both you and the computer player. If you're playing, well, that's how I played. I tried to get my wife to play, but she took one look at one of the screens that was bouncing around. She's like, I'm not playing that. But you have a power meter. If you hold down, you have a left kick and a right kick button. So that's the way you kick at the ball, obviously. But it doesn't always. It's weird the way it's. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't always go that way, depending on how the ball comes to you.
Right. Like you can't actually shoot straight this game, which is one of the most frustrating things like about it. It's one of the few flaws of this game. I'd probably say you can shoot left or shoot right, but you can't shoot straight.
Only when you max out your power.
That's true.
You can, yeah.
Right.
So when you're moving around, you can't max out your power. You have to max out your power by holding down one of the kick buttons while you're standing still. And in the layout of the field changes in every match. So some of them are easier to get the power up, and some of them are really difficult to get the power up. For instance, if you have like a kind of a octagonal shaped field or something like that, and the other person is served to first, then you'll have time, because sometimes he kicks the ball into the wall, comes back to him, kicks it back the other way. A lot of the times the ball will go horizontal across the screen, and sometimes that's good for you, because once you build up your power, you'll start flashing, and then you have to press the I forget which button it is. Is it the Y button? The top button.
Yep.
Yeah, X and Y buttons are power kicks, like A and B, like regular kicks.
Yeah, so you have to press one of those buttons to do the power kick, and if you miss it, then you lose it. But if you hit it, it goes really, really fast. It makes a different noise than the regular one, and you can do 2 in a row if you do it right, and it'll go right through the player usually. So you want to get those as much as possible, even if it's difficult to do. And sometimes I lost guys because I was trying to get the power up. But that's basically it. You win once you win 3 games against an opponent. You go on to the next one. Like Greg said, there's only 3. You do get to another one. What the heck? Eberubu, I think it was called. It was not the owl. Was it the owl? But anyway, there was also a bonus stage against the owl. I think it's a different character though. Where you just the owl moves back and forth across the top of the screen, and you just have to hit the owl. When they'll shoot out, I think 20 balls altogether, and you just have to kick it back and try to hit the owl. That's a bonus. I don't know how often that comes up. Maybe I got it twice. I got up to 16, so maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. I don't remember now.
I only got up to stage 13, and I only got it once.
Yeah, I had to continue a lot and use the password system a lot to get up that way. Because some of those are like Tabo, the kid, is really tough for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes it's super difficult to knock down the dominoes and get into the goal. Other times you don't have to do anything. It just goes right in. But it just,
exactly.
I just learned, basically how to play the game in the last few days that I've been playing, because I found, like I said before, there wasn't any manuals online, but now there are, and it tells you exactly how to play. So I never did the power up before. I didn't know how to do it.
Oh.
So now I know how to do it, and I was like, okay, this now I can get a little further in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely one of the interesting things. Definitely one of the interesting things about this game is the fact that is that fine balance between like regular shots versus power shots.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's a very risk reward system with that, which I really enjoy. Because it's like early on in the game, you definitely can win the game without doing power shots. But if you get further and further along, power shots become more and more important.
Yeah.
But trying to find the right time and the time and the way to do them correctly is also like a real challenge, because especially the AI gets harder and harder to go through the game, obviously. So you can't be like wasting time. You have to pick your shots out very carefully and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
there's definitely like a very like fun. Just like almost like a real soccer game. There's also like there's definitely like a very like risk reward system here, like this game that has the it's definitely one of those like very easy to learn, hard to master games.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely get definitely adds like a lot of appeal to it. I did beat this game, but I did heavy use of like save states and whatnot to do so.
Oh, you did. How many stages are there?
30. There's 30 stages.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So I'm halfway there.
Yeah.
Good.
So the average, quote unquote, average playthrough of this game online appears to be about like 3 to 4 hours.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
because it's going to be different every time.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Like that factors in like a good player who loses some matches, but not all the matches.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, so I think definitely the simplicity of this game is definitely like a plus. It's probably one of the reasons that you were so attracted to it, for it, because I know that you're more of a classic gamer than a modern gamer. So you know, I definitely can see how they definitely can see like how this game like appeal to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just like the colors. I like the music. I don't know who did the music, but you have the 4 characters that you can play as, and when you pick one, you play against the other 3, and everybody. It's like Super Mario Brothers 2, where each character has their own little quality, I guess, a good quality. Like I think Karopi is. I always play Karopi because I love Karopi, but Karopi is the most balanced one. I think the fish one is. It says he was dumb, but is really good on the kicks or something like that. It's stuff like that. So each one is a different type of game.
Yeah. Actually, this game like reminds me like a. Yeah, actually, like I'm looking at a video of it like right now. This game reminds me of so many games. Like it reminds me of like a Pong, reminds me of like a Warlord, reminds me of like soccer a little bit. Also reminds me of like air hockey. So you kind of have like the
So I unfortunately didn't have a chance to play this until like this week. So this was one of those, I think it was like Monday night or Tuesday night after I got off of work. So around midnight, I got the ROM, popped it into my RetroArch, and like the minute it started up, I was like, oh, this looks cool. It's cutesy, whatever. And, you know, had that thought like, Ferg, what are you doing to us? But then as soon as I started playing it, the first words out of my mouth were, wow, this is like Windjammers before Windjammers. And
that's another good comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't know what Windjammers is, it's basically a Neo Geo Pong, where it's like a frisbee competition, and you have to throw it in different angles, and based on the angle in which the frisbee goes, you can get different points, and then they also have a power-up charge and whatnot. So,
nice.
I found the similarities there, and again, this is very easy to pick up and hard to master, but it was super fun. I really enjoyed it.
You mentioned the graphics and music before. Why don't you talk about those like for a minute?
Oh, the graphics are pretty much just like, Sanrio cutesy graphics. There's like on the right side, for some reason, there's tree stumps that look like the tree stump in Zelda and the Super Nintendo Zelda game. And there's a slot machine over there too. I'm not sure what that's used for. I don't know if that's a 2-player game thing or if it's just there for some reason. I have no idea what that's for.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had no idea why that was there either.
But yeah, they're fine. I mean, the graphics. I think in this game the graphics don't really matter that much.
Agreed.
Because the gameplay is so much fun and it's a lot easy. It's easy to do. It's just very colorful, and like I said before, the music is good too. I enjoy the music.
Yeah, definitely. For being an early Super NES game, the graphics in this game are very good. Like, there's the water shading just has a very like cool like water shading effects going on in them too. So, the graphics are very like bright and colorful. The characters, from what I can see online, look like the surreal characters.
Yeah.
So like you could you definitely recognize them, like what they are like and everything. So the victory defeat animations the characters do, like when you finish a match.
Oh yeah, when they get really mad and shake. Yeah, I love those so much. Especially the fish guy. The fish guy is awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely so. Most game screens are like most game screens are like pretty much they're mostly one screen. I mean, some stages do have some very slight moving up and down.
Yeah.
For the most part, but for the most part you can see most of the action like one's most of the action like so one screen.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have a go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry, that's fine. Okay, go ahead, Ferg.
There's a lot of different obstacles in the game. There are these little windmills that, when you hit the ball in, you don't know which way it's going to come out. There are these little towers. When you hit them, they'll go back down into the ground and then eventually come back up. There are... What was another one? There was the one I would...
Bumpers.
The what's that?
bumpers, like the pinball.
Oh, the
bumpers.
bumpers, yeah, the bumpers.
Yeah.
There was this one in a Tabo thing, a Tabo level where it was a weird smiley face with balloon arms that rotated. That was really hard to get past, and it made a weird noise every time you hit the face of it. And I thought the cat was acting up first, but that one was hard for me to get past. And there's what was the other one I saw? Oh, there were like one of the goals had 2 layers of dominoes on it, but one of the layers were these I guess pylons that came up out of the ground, and sometimes the ball got stuck in them because they would go back down into the ground, and the ball would get stuck, but then they would come back up and block from hitting into your goal. There's got to be more. I would imagine there are more obstacles after that too, but even just some of the layouts of the fields were hard to get through. Like there was the one, I forget who it was, but it was like a hexagon on the bottom left, and then a little path, and then a hexagon on the top right, and it was really hard to get out of those hexagons to make a shot on a goal. You had to kind of rely, or at least I had to kind of rely on the opponent making their own goal for me.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually that's a very like viable option, like for sure. So, but I really had the hardest time with stages that had those like pyramids that come up like every now and then.
Yes.
Because it's just like you have the timing shot like so perfectly.
Yeah.
And then like conversely, you always seem to have the enemy always seems like hit you. Hit your goal at the right time to get through there, and I'm like, oh well, that's not fair. But
Yeah.
but the characters are very large actually. Like they're very large and detailed. The actual hitting animations, like kick the I call it a ball. It's not really a ball. It's like a
disc, I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a flying disc basically.
Yeah.
So but yeah, that's very. But yeah, that's like very cute, like for sure. So, but graphics are very well done. They have very like cutesy feel to them. So, the music also, I agree with you, Ferg. The music is very cutesy and also fitting very well the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything, the combination of all this, the gameplay, the graphics, music, maybe a little bit too cute, which maybe last there was kind of no, but. But yeah, I mean, if you, as long as you don't mind that, there really is a very good game here.
Yeah. There's the action sound when you hit the disc. My wife said it sounded like a racquetball, and once she said that, I was like, oh yeah, it does sound like that, or at least as close as they could get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. The game starts off pretty hard. It doesn't get any easier. So
No, it doesn't.
Those power-ups, the power-ups are a must-have, I think, in some stages, because it's you just need a little extra edge just to be able to get over the AI, because the AI, as mentioned before, looks very good.
Yeah.
So,
there's another thing I didn't realize. I think the very first field, you can't go across. I think there are blocks with X's, and I don't think you can cross those. And I thought that applied to everything. So there was one point where I went all the way by their goal, and I didn't know I could do that. Because, oh no, they did it to me first. And I was like, why is he doing that? I didn't think you could do that. But you can go up to their goal and just, kick the ball in if you can. It's kind of dangerous to do that, but.
Yeah, I think the X's don't do anything when I remember. I think the X's did that. So I think they're just there to kind of give you the player a sense of how the game field should roughly work.
Oh, okay.
So
I couldn't cross the X's. But there are some levels that don't have the X's, and those ones you can walk right up to the goal. And you're right, Ferg. It's a risk reward, so you can take your chance and try to get close and be able to outmaneuver your opponent by really zoning in on them. But then that leaves your goal wide open to be attacked. So
yeah, you're right, Joe. I apologize. The X's do block you from going up that that way. So. Because in some stages there's 2 rows of X's with no man's land in the center.
Yeah.
So, but unlike air hockey, this disc tends to go at a pretty good speed. It doesn't get stuck. So
right.
I feel like you always have to be ready for that. But So I think we covered most of the gameplay here. Joe, do you have anything additional additional stuff you want to talk about the game?
No, I mean, I pretty much said my piece as far as how it controls and whatnot.
Yep. So, downsides. The only real two negatives to this game that I had, which I already mentioned previously, is the fact that I wish there was a way to be able to do a straight shot besides just the super shot. And then also the fact that I think that sometimes, especially later on in the game, the AI could do some very cheap shots. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand I understand making the AI difficult because they're trying to bounce it out, but it's there were some stages where some stages that I really struggled to get past. I lost 4 or 5 matches in a row.
Yeah.
If I'm one to advance.
Same.
So, I kind of wish they had reduced that a little bit to make it more fair, but those quibbles aside, most of the game's very solid. So
I agree.
Controls handled pretty well too, I thought. So
Yeah.
didn't remember, but didn't remember having a problem with the control system. The password system, if you use it's very simple. It's simple. It's 4 characters.
Yeah, fruits. That's it. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure. So this definitely is not an unknown game anymore, because as I mentioned before, it has gotten some press over the years, and it's considered by many people, and it's considered by many folks to be a hidden gem now these days. So, I'm not sure if I'd go quite so far as to say that's a cult game, but it is a very, very good game. It probably deserves more attention. That probably deserves the attention that it is getting these days.
Yeah.
So, a U.S. version of this game, I think would have done very well. It's they simply had changed the theming of it. Maybe put whatever theme was popular in the country in the 90s in this game instead. I think this game could have done very well over here. But
Yeah. I think so.
But Surreal. But most of Surreal's games did not come out in the West until recently. So so I just don't think Surreal even thought about that because Surreal obviously is more popular in Japan than it is over here in the West.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But so anyway. Did you know, Ferg, there's a spiritual, that there's a spiritual sequel to this game?
No, I did not.
It's called Surreal. So it's called Surreal World Smash Ball and Pop and Smash. So
Where's that?
Came out with Super NES. Super NES game also a couple years later.
Really?
So it's it's very similar to this game. It's there are some key differences. The different characters, the stages are arranged a bit differently. I'm sorry. I apologize. I got so excited I mashed the names of the games together by accident. The spiritual sequel was just called Pop and Smash.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say there was only one other
Yeah.
Sanrio ROM on there, and it was a.
Yeah. No, it's not a surreal game. It plays very similar to this game, but it's not like a surreal game. I actually think that game's a bit better than World Smash Ball in some ways. For example, you have the different abilities. You have the ability in that game to do what's called a diving tackle to tackle to save the disc. Because it's locked in to go into your goal line. You can do a diving tackle like in hockey. Save it. So the gameplay in that game is pretty solid. I think most of the gameplay in that game is better than World Smash Ball when I played it. However, it does have the one big drawback with the AI of that game not being as good.
Okay.
So there's a trade-off, unfortunately. But yeah, both games are very, very fun.
I'm going to try that sucker out.
So, yep. So, there's a more complicated name that game, but just Pop and Smash is the more easily remember the name of the game. So
Right.
Fun game, surprising game. This is one of the reasons I like doing the podcast. Like you said before, in your podcast, Ferg, you get to find hitting games like this that you didn't even know that existed.
Yep.
So, and I appreciate you, and I really appreciate you not trolling us.
No, I wouldn't do that.
But which you could totally have done because you're done, of course, because we'll cover you want to talk about. So.
Yeah, it's kind of a simple game. I guess that's why the episodes ended up so much shorter than your usual episodes.
Nothing wrong like a simple game though. I mean, like,
Oh,
like
no,
I said
no.
Before, this is like I said before, this is definitely one of those. This is definitely like one of those games that easy to learn but hard to master.
Yeah.
So,
It was a lot of fun.
like I said
I had a
before-
lot of fun, but I didn't get frustrated because I just felt if maybe I didn't get to those cheap shots that you guys were talking about, but I just felt like if I made a mistake, it was my fault. Not being in front of the open space where the dominoes
Well-
were gone. I don't know.
Yeah, some of the cheap shots really are. I think cheap shots, like there are stages. The stage, for example, it's like the puck for some reason. So like like in Breakout, the puck gets stuck, bouncing back and forth between
Yes.
the blocks in front of your goals, and it'll go right in. And you're like, and you're like, I can't even do, and you can't do anything about it. So
Yeah.
it's like it goes boom, 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 and it's like, oh well, that's not fair. But, so. Yeah, there are definitely some cheap deaths that way.
Yeah.
But hey, like it is what it is. So.
But there's also the times when it just goes back and forth horizontally, and you can set up your power kick, which is nice.
Which is very nice. I like
Yes.
that. Yes, because so, but sometimes luck goes in your favor too. Is it? It's definitely not all like one-sided. So
Yeah.
But so it does have that advantage. But yeah, it's a shame I didn't get to play this in two-player mode because this game does look very fun two-player mode.
Yeah, I was hoping, but
But yeah, so I'm sure this game got covered in Japan when it came out, but I couldn't find any magazine coverage or the coverage of this game from the 90s. The reviews of this game I did find online. For example, I mentioned Giant Bomb earlier, are all like contemporary within more recent reviews.
right.
But the reviews of this game all very positive. They all give the game 6 to 8 points, out of 10. So
That's good.
so yeah, pretty good marks across the board, I thought.
Yeah.
So, no real secrets to this game except for besides the passwords. The fact the passwords are all available online, of course, obviously. I go that way. So, but yeah. So, before I move on to eBay and closing thoughts here, do either one of you guys have anything else to say about this game as kind of a wrap up?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
So anyway, eBay. Considering it's a Japanese game, and considering the fact the game's got more popular in recent years, this is still a pretty affordable game to pick up. Like when you get physical copy. A lot of times with these translated a lot of times like the Japanese only translated games, there are people who are willing to stick a translated version of the ROM available on a US style cart. I could not find that in this case. I guess maybe because this game's not as popular, but so all these cards I found online are the original Japanese Famicom, Super Famicom, I should say, sorry, version of this game. 18 copies of this game are currently being listed on eBay at the time of doing the research. 3 of them are from North America. So, and 10 copies of this game sold recently with 1 copies coming from North America. So, even though most copies coming from Japan, there are options to get it locally if you want to. But even with that factors in, pricing, like I said before, this game is not that bad. These prices include shipping, and of course, the Japanese games, you're paying a higher price for shipping, of course. But still, I think this game, for what it is, it's pretty reasonably priced as far as Super NES games, imported games go. The price history, carts only. The carts only. This game sold anywhere from $20 to $49. CIB copies not that much. CIB copies were not that much more expensive. $25 to $50.
Wow.
So, yeah, still pretty affordable game to get if you want to.
Yeah.
And before, like I said before, there is fully translated version of this ROM available online. I should warn anybody who plays this game. There do appear to be a few late game glitches if you play this game like an emulation. So, be heavy with the save state use.
Is that what the translated one? I thought I read that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
the translated version of the game. So, which I ran into myself personally. Just some graphical glitches.
Yeah.
Mostly. So, not that bad. You know what to expect. I just want to mention it though. Keep an eye out for it.
Right.
Because, some of those blips will cause the game to be mostly unplayable. So you will need to do a restart. So that's why I said be handy with the save states. So, anyway, so yeah, very fun, very simple, very surprising game.
I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you
it's
again.
Yeah, I did not. Yeah, I did not know what to make of this game at all when you mentioned the title, which is going like, okay, WTF, I'm not sure what's going on here with this, but okay. So, but yeah, it's a very pleasant surprise. So thank you.
Good.
So, but yeah, for sure, definitely. So, I mentioned some, as I mentioned before at the start of the podcast, some of the stuff that Ferg's currently working on. Ferg, what podcasts or projects are you currently working on that you want to like plug?
Basically just my own, the Atari 2600 Game by Game podcast. If you want to check it out, you can go to 2600 Game by Game podcast.blogspot.com, and everything is there.
But you're also like a regular couple of the podcasts, though, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes. I'm on Atari Visions, where there's, right now there's 3 of us that cover the same game on the ColecoVision, Atari 2600, and Intellivision, and some other systems too. And actually, you reminded me that I got to get on the notes for the next episode.
There's also the podcast that you do with your friend too, right?
We haven't done it in a while. We're hopefully getting back to that soon. Yeah, please stand by. If you go to Zerbinatorland.com, you can find it there.
Yeah, Kevin Zerb's like a great guy.
He is, yeah.
Cool, awesome. You also have a thriving Discord group, like virtual gaming things all together, which I highly recommend anybody interested to check out. So,
especially if you like pictures of birds.
There's a lot of interesting off-topic stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Yes, so. Cool. So, So, anything else that you want to plug, Ferg? Any other projects you're working on, or podcasts?
I got my hands full of my own podcast.
Okay, fair enough. So, sure. But yeah, awesome. So, Joe, how about you?
Yeah, the normal stuff. I'm on Twitter.
Okay.
I guess I should tell him, huh? At JOESUX30.
Cool. Awesome. But and Facebook also. We have Facebook presence. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or suggestions, feel free to leave us on Facebook, or you can also send me an email directly if you want to at the SNES podcast at yahoo.com. Or you can reach me on Ferg's Discord group. I hang out there on a pretty regular basis. But anyway, thank you again as always for being on the podcast, Ferg. It's always been a blast.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for. I'm glad you enjoyed the game.
Yeah, it's a shame your wife didn't have the same feeling about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, but she does like her puzzle games. So.
Speaking about games, Joe, it's your pick next time. So what do you want to cover?
Yeah, so we're gonna check out Batman and The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Should give it the proper name.
Yes.
And one of the reasons we're going to cover it is because when I was growing up, I had the Game Boy version. So,
ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
at least
which is kind of ironic.
I have some idea of what the game's going to be like, so it should be fun.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of ironic we're covering a Batman game because like Ferg and I actually covered the previous Batman game, Batman Returns, on this podcast several years ago. So, which I think is an excellent game. I do not remember having such good feelings about this game, but but to be fair, it has been a long time since I played it, so let's give it a fair shake. But as long as it's better than the movie, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, yeah. So we also have additional guest hosts that are being lined up currently in the podcast for the months to come. So stay tuned for that. So. We'll have some new people. Have some new folks on the podcast. So with some additional, probably very obscure games like to pick from. So we also have some other projects finally going on behind the scenes. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff publicly yet at this point because the details are still being finalized. But hopefully, everything's worked with. But hopefully, if everything works out, there'll be some minor changes coming to the podcast in the future. Most of it behind the scenes, but it should definitely improve some of the visibility and whatnot of the podcast. So we're working on that behind the scenes. So I don't want to go into too much detail about that right now. But hopefully those details are worked out pretty soon. So and so finally, I want to give a special shout out because I realize this happens with YouTube shows as well. Also, the editors, the people who do all the editing and the work and everything behind the scenes don't really get too much recognition and credit. So, we've had a new editor on the podcast for a few episodes now because George had stepped down like most duties. So I want to give a brief second to acknowledge Brad. He's been doing a great job editing the podcast for us now. Hopefully, most of you did not even know we changed people, which I think is like beneficial of the fact that that person's doing a very good job. Then, so thank you again, Brad, for the hard work you're doing on the podcast. I'm currently talking to Brad to see if he wants to commit to doing this on a more long-term basis. Because it's kind of like a trial period for him to see how it goes. But hopefully, so we appreciate the work. And hopefully, I could decide to stay on. So, I think that wraps everything up. Ferg, once again, finally, thank you again for being on the podcast with us as always. Like we always do. We always do like having you.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for coming on so late.
Have you?
Yeah, no, this.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit behind, like off the off the mic stuff here. We actually had this arranged earlier for the evening, but since we made the arrangement, Joe has also gotten a new job working second shift, so we had to delay. So we had to delay the start of the podcast to midnight.
Yeah.
So, but luckily Ferg works third shift, so he's used to being up late. So. But not me. I'm going to bed virtually after this. But so anyway, So thank you again. We'll have you back. I'm sure we'll have you back at some point again, Ferg.
All right.
But there's got to be more games on the system that you like, right?
Oh yeah.
Haven't been covered yet. So, all right. So. Thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. We always appreciate it. So, stay safe out there. Take care, and we'll catch you again next time. Later on.
Bye.
At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES. You're listening to the SNES podcast with your host, Soul Blazer.